everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of The Lead. Your host, as always, Harley Dugan. I am right here with John Crumpler. John Daddy Crumpler, he is the doctor at work. We all know him. We love him. He's been on the channel before. And then we have a very special guest with Jess Root, who is the managing editor for the CardsWire. And please make sure I did get that right, correct?
That is correct, yes.
All right, go ahead and explain. Talk to yourself about the people, Mr. Root. Let them know who you are and dive on in.
Well, I've been covering I'm a lifelong Arizonan. Grew up, born and raised here in the Phoenix area. I've been a Cardinals fan since about 1989. They moved here in 88. I started following them a little bit as a teenager in 89. And I've been covering the team between SB Nation and now USA Today, the CardsWire, since 2012. And so, yeah, like I've had, in addition to writing for CardsWire, I also have a podcast called Rise Up, See Red podcast for the last, 10 years, talking Arizona Cardinals football as well.
Okay, cool. Interesting. Have y'all ever crossed paths?
I think on Twitter, maybe.
It's like, I know Mark.
Okay. I love Mark. Mark is such a good guy.
Who doesn't know Mark, right? Shout out to Mark.
I've had Mark on the podcast. We have a Slack channel with all the editors, the site editors and stuff. And so Mark, I talk to Mark quite frequently, in fact.
So, we have a Cardinals fan on what is a Houston sports dialogue. We're getting to the Texans. We all know this. Y'all's have pick number 3. What is right now, Houston? How would you describe the temperature check in Houston, John?
Just with the overall pick, like this situation. I mean, it's a bit of a mess right now. I think that no one expected to be here. We're a week away from the draft. I don't think anyone has an idea of what the Houston Texans are going to do, whether that's what position they're going to address or whether that's the most likely candidate at those respective positions. I think anxious would be the word I'd use to characterize the fan base right now, just in terms of, I think for so many months, the path was set. This was the draft where Houston was going to find their next franchise quarterback. They were going to get, obviously, a new head coach, someone to kind of pair together with that quarterback and jump into the future. And all of a sudden, the press is kind of telling us to slow down on that from things we're hearing in the building, that they might be looking at defense potentially.
Yeah, and then, look, man, and just to let the Cardinals fans know, Texans fans are not feeling good, all right? Especially when I'm dropping sad TikToks of Will Levis going to number 2. Like, I'm upset about it. I don't want it to happen. I am at an outcry. I am upset, and I know I just said upset twice, but that's just how we're feeling right now. The temperature check is not good. It is a dry, humid, similar area of Arizona climate here in Houston. It is ugly. It is disgusting right now. Okay, I do not like being a Texans fan. I'm still going to be yelling at that TV on Sunday because I am a fan, but I don't like it here right now. Like John's little meme, I'm just not having a good time, bro.
It seems like it should be, and really seems like it should be an easy decision.
Arizona Cardinals at 3. Is it similar or is it not?
We're just kind of waiting and seeing it, honestly. I feel like the fans are pretty comfortable with what the plan is, which they haven't said what the plan is, but it feels like what the Cardinals really want to do is trade out. They want to trade out of the pick. I think there are a number of prospects that they really like, and they like to trade back because they want to build. They want to build through the draft. They have a roster they need to fill. They want more picks on day 2. They want future picks. And there's the possibility to do that. But if they can't make it, the feeling is that if they don't make a trade, it'll be a missed opportunity. But if they stay at number 3, probably they'll get a guy that they're going to feel really comfortable about, unless the Texans do something crazy. And it's like, I don't understand how this is not just an easy decision. You take CJ Stroud, and then you're happy because Will Levis, I don't get why people like Will Levis. He wasn't good last year. He's got a great arm. He wasn't good.
No, he was terrible.
He was not good last year. I don't get it, but whatever. I still don't think at number 2, why wouldn't they pick a quarterback unless they really like the Texans literally only like Bryce Young. And if that were the case, why didn't they trade up? Why didn't they move up the one spot before Carolina did? That would have been the smart thing to do. They could have gotten the guy they wanted. And then, heck, the Bears wanted more. They probably could have traded back to number 9 again. They probably could have traded down to 2 and then traded 9. They probably could have done that, no problem. But if Will Anderson, assuming that the Texans go quarterback, Will Anderson, I feel super comfortable with. In fact, I feel he's a slam dunk home run. Take every other sports analogy and wrap it up, and he's a perfect prospect for the Cardinals. I don't see really any flaws to him. Yeah, he's a little lean to play defensive end, but just look across the board. You've got a guy that has length, that has the requisite athleticism. His motor is incredible. His IQ is off the charts. There's humility. Todd McShay was just on NFL Live talking about what Nick Saban has absolutely gushed about Will Anderson. There is nothing not to like about him. And this is what Saban said. He's a dog-ass competitor, which is what the Cardinals wanted in the building. And he had elite production in the SEC for the last 2 years. 2 years ago, 17.5 sacks. And this last year, when literally everyone game planned for him, double team pretty much every snap, he still had 10 sacks. No one's had more pressures than he has more sacks over the last 2 years. He's a lock. Is he Von Miller? Maybe not. Is he Nick Bosa? Maybe not. But I think he's a lock to be a productive double-digit sack guy for years to come, and that's exactly what the Cardinals need. Now, can they move back so that someone can draft Will Levis or Anthony Richardson? Sure. And then they're going to get guys like they could get a tackle like Paris Len. They could get Broderick Jones. They could get Christian Gonzalez, cornerback. You get Devin Witherspoon. There's a number of guys that you can like if they move back. They're moving back to 4 for the Colts if they just want to move up 1. You've got the Raiders. You've got the Titans that are all rumored to be in play for that number 3 pick. So the Cardinals are actually a really good spot. The thing that gets really interesting is that if the Texans take Anderson number 2, for example, which is he's the betting favorite now, which is mind-blowing to me. Yeah. Mind-blowing to me is that it creates a dichotomy where the Cardinals will be desperate to trade the pick. And then there will be teams that are hungry to get that pick because Stroud is still on the board.
And I think this points out a really interesting dichotomy because everything you just said about Will Anderson applies the same to Houston. It would be a great piece for DeMeco Ryans' defense. But expectations define your reality. And for Cardinals fans who have a quarterback and they've kind of known, I think Arizona's going into a rebuilding year. It's really exciting to add a premium player to potentially add significant future draft capital. Houston fans have been waiting for the last 4 months to get a quarterback. And it's hard to look at the top of the class in the same way and feel excited about it when you assume, like you said, that even if you're picking number 2, we all thought CJ Stroud. I still believe CJ Stroud's a slam dunk pick. You would run that up to the podium even if Bryce was gone. And if these reports are true that really Bryce was the apple of their eye, that it was a one-man class, it kind of creates this really frustrated feeling of how did the organization, for a guy that you entered week 18 having the draft rights to, how did you throw that away? And then if you still knew that, how did you not go get number 1 if that was your plan? And I think it's such an interesting contrast because really, I don't think these franchises are in terribly different places right now. But in terms of expectations, it totally changes the optics at picking so high in the draft.
Man, there's a lot to dissect there. Will Levis, if I want to try to rationalize it, which I don't, but I will try to because I'm a Texans fan and I'm going to, secede myself to a TV every Sunday. He's
got a big arm.
Theoretically, he's athletic enough to play a Shanahan-Kubiak system. But again, there's inconsistent development with him at Kentucky. His mechanics are flawed, and that has been talked about with numerous former quarterbacks and even alongside with draft analysts and draft scouts. It's not pretty to talk about Will Levis, so I'll stop. And then,
well, people are trying not to miss on the next Josh Allen, but you're not getting the next Josh Allen. He wasn't as good as Josh Allen. He's not as athletic as Josh Allen. I don't understand what people are doing. He's got a great arm, but he's not the athlete Josh Allen is. And Josh Allen had better production. So and there's a lot of reasons why Levis didn't have the season that he did the previous year because 2021 was pretty good. 2022 was a regression. Yeah, he lost targets. He lost his targets. His offensive line was worse. But come on, if you're a great prospect, in college football, if you're a great quarterback, that makes up for a lot.
It'll show.
That might be. Do we really think that Josh Allen produced better in? I mean, I scouted Josh in 2018. I think Levis's 2021 film was better than what we saw from Josh. Yeah. The problem is Josh was this great athlete. I think he had a bigger arm than we're talking about with Levis right now, and he had a better athlete. He could run more. There were just more things you can say. Like that ball of clay looked more like Anthony Richardson right now, and saying we can develop so many facets of his game. So you look at Will Levis, and I'm saying, what are you going to get better at? And if you do not fix some of these fatal flaws that we saw in 2022 Kentucky, the road to out of the league could happen very quickly compared to Josh Allen might have came in with less positives, but he didn't have any glaring negatives that we see with Levis. When you're a senior, you're not supposed to make the mistakes that he made.
Yeah, when your NFL comp is Ryan Tannehill, like, okay.
Tannehill's had a decent career.
Good for him.
He's had a career that, like, he was a questionable pick when he was selected by the Dolphins, and he turned things around in Tennessee. So he ended up having a not bad career. Now, Blaine Gabbert, Blaine Gabbert is a guy I didn't like him coming out of college, and he was terrible, but he's managed to have himself a 12-year career.
Yeah, I mean, hey, backup quarterbacks, what can you do? ESPN's latest mock draft, this came out 2 days ago. Mel Kiper made the pick for y'all. Todd McShay made the pick for the Texans. And Todd McShay said that we're getting C.J. Stroud. He just says that if he has to make the pick, C.J. Stroud would be the guy for him. General consensus quarterback. This is something that we've already said. And then number 3 was Will Anderson for Mel Kiper, best defensive prospect. These feel like absolutes. But the Texans could take Will Anderson. Then what do the Cardinals do? You mentioned about trading down. Or, the Texans, do they trade down? What does that do to the Cardinals if the Texans trade down? That's the ultimate question there.
That becomes, well, like I said, if they have to stay at 3 and draft Will Anderson, that's not a bad. It's a good position to be in. Mm-hmm. If they want to trade the pick, which I think is their preference, Houston trading down makes things interesting. It would depend on if someone. I think Anthony Richardson becomes the guy that you wonder about. Who's the team that wants him? And I've heard that the Raiders love him, and the Titans as well. The Titans actually have themselves in a real nice position. Well, actually, both teams are, because they've got veteran, solid quarterbacks, above average quarterbacks, and so you can give them time. You can get Anthony Richardson time. Basically, if the Raiders can do to Jimmy Garoppolo exactly what the 49ers did to Jimmy Garoppolo a couple of years ago. But yeah, I think the Cardinals fans, they want a trade. That's exciting. But if they end up with Will Anderson, there's really nothing wrong with that. And I'm going to be completely comfortable with that, because he's going to be a game changer on defense. I think he's going to be the exact sort of player and competitor that Jonathan Gannon wants on his roster. And I think he can have immediate impact. I don't think aside from injury, I don't think there's a way that he busts.
I'd agree with that. I think it's also a really interesting position in terms of trade value of what the Texans are doing here by putting their pick on the market, because I don't think it'd be unfair to say right now, it feels very well known Houston doesn't want to be forced to make this pick, because they're in such an uncomfortable position of, we promised the fans a quarterback. We told even DeMeco Ryans about a month ago was saying there are some good young quarterbacks at the top of the draft. We're excited about it, but now it's coming out, those guys they might like, if they really do have Will Levis QB2 in the draft, you can't take that guy at number 2. And it almost makes me wonder is someone going to call Houston's bluff and say, we know you're not taking a quarterback. Why would we move up to there? Because those guys are going to start coming down the board. And does that affect Arizona's stock potentially? If you're one of those teams and you say, okay, if one doesn't go to Houston, I don't have to trade with Arizona because 2 of those guys are going to be available after Indianapolis picks. And it's just such an interest, because all these quarterbacks, they offer different things. I think Levis is a consensus tier below the other guys, but I think for Stroud and Richardson, really interchangeable in the fact of what do you value? And it's going to be, do teams feel that they're discernible differences enough in what they want to target that they're going to try to move up? Or does the Texans potentially signaling for a defensive player say we can afford to wait?
They could also use their 12th pick to move up. So if they really want Anderson, and if still Levis is the pick, or Anthony Richardson, or even Stroud, if it fall, they still have the capital to be able to move up from number 12, which would be an interesting move to make.
It's about to 3.
Maybe even that. That would be interesting. That would be an interesting.
A lot.
That would be fun.
It would be.
They take Will Anderson and then immediately trade up to take Will Levis. Sorry, Texans fans. At least you'd have a great pass rusher.
Crazier things have happened. It's the Houston Texans in the NFL. We've seen this script before.
Look, to add on, I know John said for the last 4 months, we've been dire need of looking at hope. I label quarterback as hope, and that is just something the Houston Texans haven't had since old Deshaun Watson, and even before then, the whole franchise has never had a quarterback on this roster besides Deshaun Watson. And me, John looks at the Week 18 game. I look at, if you only believed, you can't tell me through the whole pre-draft process that you saw Bryce Young, you loved him, and you had your doubts with the rest of the quarterback class, then why didn't you look at the quarterback position and delve into it a little bit more, either a la free agency? I know we were rumored to ties with a Jimmy Garoppolo. Should you have been more aggressive in swinging a deal with maybe the 49ers, which is rumors are coming back again with Trey Lance, the Patriots with Mac Jones, or whoever else is out there? I mean, I don't see a Lamar Jackson move happening. I question Nick Caserio's overall management of the roster. That it's really is what it's starting to rear its ugly head more and more as the draft has grown, has lessened in the amount of days it's coming. It's like winter is coming. It's called the NFL draft, and I'm not really excited as much as I should be. I will be there at the draft party. I'm going to have a grand old time. I won't be having a swell time at pick 2 or anything other than that. And that is what I can't fathom it. I really can't.
Lovie Smith's ultimate FU in Week 18.
Harley, I do think common sense will prevail in Houston's building. I would still think right now the favorite should be CJ Stroud to be that pick until it's not, just because of some of the reasons we've outlined in the 15 minutes here. He is seen as a top-tier quarterback prospect in this draft. I think ownership as well as coaching knows that quarterback is the biggest hole in their roster, whether that's how you're selling the team or how you're planning to win football games. So we'll have to see, Harley. I think that's an understandable sentiment, though. I too question the planning that led Houston to this point and the relative mismanagement, in my opinion.
I have no problem with it. I would be happy for a CJ Stroud. Thank you, Mr. Root, for coming on. I know coincidentally this just happened, but it just dawned on me that John has been trying to learn Spanish. And you know where I'm going at, Mr. Root, because I looked at your profile on Twitter, and you are a Spanish teacher. Do you want to
the other side of
my life? You on John real quick?
Yeah, that's the other side of my life. I've been a Spanish high school teacher for the last 22 years, and I've been a writer about the Cardinals for the last 10, 11. So, yeah, I've got kind of 2 careers going. Twitter doesn't really know much about the teaching side of things, and the school doesn't know a ton about my Cardinal stuff. So, whatever you want to know, I could do the show in Spanish if you needed, but most NFL fans speak English, even if they speak Spanish, they're bilingual. So.
Jess, I relate to that. I'm a 4th-year medical student is what I'm doing full time, and no one on Twitter knows about the stuff that happens at the hospital, and none of my patients know that when I get on my phone after I leave the room, I might be checking Twitter to see what the Texans are up to.
Thank you, Mr. Root. Let the people know where they can find you, man.
Easiest way on Twitter, I'm on Senior Jess Root, but just find me on CardsWire. CardsWire.com. It's one of the USA Today sites, and anywhere you can find podcasts. If you want to hear about the Cardinals, because it is basically about the Cardinals, is find the Rise Up Sea Red podcast anywhere where podcasts are. Although the last few shows have been They're Cardinal centric, but big on the NFL draft.
Likewise to you, John. Shamelessly plug yourself to the people.
Yeah, guys, I'm John Crumpler. I'm the lead analyst over at the Texans Wire. You can give me a follow on Twitter at John H. Crumpler. Make sure you're following the Texans Wire on Twitter at the Texans Wire. And you can read all my work. And we've got a lot of other great writers there at TexansWire.usatoday.com. So make sure you're checking that out.
Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate y'all coming on. As always, guys, go Astros, go Rockets, go Texans, go Cardinals. You know what? I'll throw that in there.
Well,
Have a blessed day.